Hi, welcome back to Future Fast. And once again, we have Jessica with us. And for those of you who are here for the first time, we've had two conversations with Jessica in the past. The first part where she shares the journey, and the second part is where she talks about what kind of work they're doing at C4, right? And also about CCSS in terms of how cryptocurrency security standards evolved and how it is actually helping many companies and individuals. She even talked about few companies who have also done multiple rounds of audit. So please go back, listen to those conversations, so you will be able to better appreciate the context. And in this conversation, Jessica, once again, welcome to Future Fast, and want to get started with asking you to talk about your perspective on the future.
Sure. So I think that in terms of blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, we see where this is headed. We see that it is increasing utility. Many countries have started to use this. I mean, we see back in El Salvador making it a currency that's accepted in their country, the national currency. We also see that there are a lot of different countries starting to adopt digital currencies in different ways. And it is kind of, I guess, the way the wind's blowing. And we should, as we know this is coming up, make sure that we're doing what we need to do to really understand how the technology works, how to implement it safely, how to use it safely. And as we're moving forward, there's constantly new technology, and we know that more technology is coming in the future. It doesn't stop. And so we need to make sure that we understand how these things work. And it's extremely important because there are all of these different attack vectors. There are all of these different companies, currencies. You really need to take the time to understand what it is that you're using or what your country is pushing, how to do so legally and compliantly, and all of those things. And so I think we're going to see in the future continued widespread adoption if we address the security issue. I think that's the big piece. You know, if you look back, like in, I think it was 2013, somewhere around then, Target Corp in the United States had a massive security breach. I mean, millions, maybe even billions of dollars. And the credit card companies came together to make a change and to address that and to make sure that there were standards in place. And I think we're going to see the cryptocurrency security standard taking a bigger place with companies that are holding private keys. And we're going to see more people implementing this and making sure that safety is being taken really seriously and not just thought of, after the fact. And
many of the companies have already part of their treasury management includes digital assets. So it's so very important that the executives in these enterprises, and particularly in the leadership and in the finance department managing treasury and investments, have to, and also probably information security folks, have a better understanding of these things. And I think you also have programs for them as well, right? Training programs?
right. Yep. So we do trainings about blockchain technology. We focus on, we tailor them to what a company's team needs. And so maybe you're a marketing company and you need your team to understand how the technology works in addition to what your product does. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a conference or been on a call and someone has explained how their product works. But within the explanation, they have said something about blockchain tech that has made absolutely no sense. It's factually inaccurate, and immediately you lose confidence in that project. And so having your team understand the technology from a kind of a whole well-rounded perspective and where their product or project fits within that is extremely important. So we do virtual and in-person trainings where we talk about how blockchain technology or cryptocurrency, digital assets, whatever it is that you're using and what you call it applies to your team, or perhaps you're not using it yet and you would like to learn more about it. We often hear, there's a few people at a company that are the trailblazers, and they love the technology, they understand it, but maybe you're not an educator and you want somebody to come in to help teach the other people in your company or on your team about how the technology works so that it's, really catered to them and presented in a way that makes a lot of sense so that they leave feeling like they understand how the technology works and how it could be applied to whatever it is that your company is doing. So whether it's supply chains, or whether it's, an actual exchange and you want to make sure even the people in your customer service get how the technology came about. Whatever it is, we tailor our content to make sure that people understand it. And then we've got certifications so they can prove it. But to be honest, it's really just a bunch of geeks who love education, who love the technology and want to talk about it in a fun way, not, droning on about the price and the cryptography, things like that. But really, what do you need to know and how can you be innovative with it? What can this do to improve your team and your product? And I think that the trainings are a lot of fun, but I might be biased because I love education.
Well, you probably should get those who go through the training to comment about it on the website. So then it'll be justified, I guess.
Yes. That's a good idea.
Sure. So, coming back, how do you see the whole evolution? Because I think US recently, Congress voted right, suggesting no to CBDC, right? They clearly voted CBDC out, at least for now. So, what do you think? How long you think US will come around, or do you think US will ever come around to have CBDC?
I guess I don't know what will end up happening. I do know that there has been some changes or pushes that have made some companies that are based in the United States go elsewhere. And I think that the technology is being used and this is happening, whether certain people want it to or not. It's not going to go away because it has so many use cases, because it can make such a big difference that it's going to stick around. And so I think at some point, there's really no way to avoid using digital assets. I don't think it's going to be something that stalls out and stops. I mean, look at what people used to say about the internet or the telephone. I mean, there's every example of new technology has the naysayers, the people that don't think it's useful, it's not going to work. And then if, it's been how many years now since Bitcoin started, and think of all the changes and ways that, the white paper was in 2008. And so we're going to be getting to 20 years here soon. And when we look at that and we think, how long did it take for the internet to get adopted? And how many people thought it was pointless or only for...
but it was only 90 years ago, right? 92 years ago since US actually moved away from gold to dollars. So, and of course, it was hugely opposed, right? I mean, today we can only read about it. We didn't live to that era. But there was a lot of opposition for that. In fact, good majority of the people in the Congress were against it. Good majority of people even in the banking world were against it moving from gold to dollars. So internationally, there were people opposed to it. So it's a matter of time. Today, U.S. Congress is opposed it because they did oppose it previously. I mean, gold was there was only one person who was batting for moving from gold to dollars, and in a matter of 4 years, the whole Congress turned around and changed it. So it's not that no to CBDC is forever, right?
Yeah, I think that people that believe in the technology just need to keep advocating for it. And education really is the key here. If we have policymakers who don't really understand how the technology works,
which is the case, right? In most cases.
It's super problematic. And so we need these people to understand the technology so that they can see how it can be used and the benefits of it and ways that it's already been adopted that is working. It's not like this is something that, just materialized yesterday or even before that. Blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies are rooted in so many years of technology. This didn't just, pop in. It's got so much grounded in it. And I mean, same thing with any currency, everything evolves. And I think that people are at this point aware that most of the money that they have is not actually sitting in a bank account. I mean, you think about the movie It's a Wonderful Life, where there's a bank run. Everybody goes in, tries to get their money out. And George Bailey is explaining to them, your money's not actually here. It's in this person's house. It's in this person's house. So we're seeing that digital currency is already in existence. I can't go to my bank account and pull out all of my money right now. It'd actually be a lot easier for me to sell crypto or to use my crypto for something because it's at my fingertips. And so I think that the accessibility of it and using it correctly is going to continue to happen. And we just need to inform people and advocate for what you believe. And a way to do that is to respond to regulatory frameworks. So C4's cryptocurrency security standard auditors have an advocacy group, and this advocacy group has responded to a number of different regulatory frameworks that are asking for feedback and explaining to them what they can do, should do, what the standard is, so that they have that information at their fingertips. So is it super fun reading all of these frameworks and responding to them? Would not say that's my favorite part of my job, but I do think it's really important that we take the time and energy to make sure that the people who need to understand how this works, who have many other job responsibilities and maybe aren't able to do that, have those resources at their fingertips so that they're not reinventing the wheel. They're not coming up with things that don't actually work and are using the technology in the right way, understand how it can be used, and seeing multiple perspectives. And the best way to do that is to advocate for what we know it can and should be used for.
Right. As you were saying, I was just thinking that what we are talking about is present is future to many people in the same time, right?
Mhm.
So the thing that bridges them and brings the same time into same space, if we talk about the present and the future, is in two different time space. And what brings it into a common time space would possibly be the education. So that's
Right. I
where one.
totally agree. And, one thing that's interesting is seeing, I think when you see how the technology can be used in a way that makes sense. So there's many different applications for it, but a good example is I've explained to my family many times how Bitcoin works, blockchain. I'm the only one that's fallen down the rabbit hole. But a couple Christmases ago, I went to a store and I bought too many stocking stuffers and ended up returning some of them after the fact. And when I went in, I was in a different state, different city, and I had to show them my ID in order to return this, random candy, whatever. The woman who looked at my ID said, "Oh, I used to live in Chicago right by your neighborhood." And I'm thinking, what? She's got my ID for just returning some things and is now commenting on my home address. And when I went back to my family and said to them how much it creeped me out, they were like, "That is creepy." And that's when I said, well, there's something called zero knowledge proofs. And let me tell you about how ZKP works and how we can use it for identity and, hiding information while still proving who we are. And as I walk them through how that technology works, how that cryptography works, they suddenly saw, oh, there's a use case for that. And, oh, it could be on a blockchain. Okay. And if you explain how the technology works in a way that impacts people in terms of what matters to them, so privacy. If privacy matters to you, then you perhaps can see why zero knowledge proofs matter and why maybe you would want to use a permissioned blockchain for something, or you'd want to use an open blockchain, but use zero knowledge proofs in order to not share certain information. And I know it's being used in the telecom industry now. It's being pushed that way. There's many different ways that the technology is being used. The takeaway, though, is once you see how new technology can better your own life and your loved ones' lives, you're much more likely to be supportive of it. If you just see it as something criminals are using, or if you just see it as a waste of energy and resources, you're really missing all of the different ways it can be applied and improve our society. And I think it's a mistake. So I hope and I believe that the future is going to continue to adopt this technology. As it continues to evolve, we're going to be able to see how we can use it in our life in ways that maybe we kind of forgot was important. Privacy is something that is so important that is lost because of digital footprints we leave. But now we're able to use existing technology to gain back some of that privacy and not to do things that are nefarious or anything illegal, just to really not have your address shared with someone at a store. Because why did that woman need to know my address? What if it was somebody who was, wanted my address for a different reason? It is kind of scary that that happens, but it's really exciting that this technology exists and is continuing to come into play that will fix these problems, make us safer.
So you want to go to the space of making some predictions now?
Predictions. I guess I predict that blockchain technology is going to continue to be used, that additionally, zero knowledge is going to become part of how telecom space works. I think that we are moving towards a future where people really understand how this technology can be used widely. The negativity surrounding cryptocurrency can fade, and I think will, as long as we are doing things that we need to do to keep things secure, or to make things secure, which would be using standards and adopting it in a way that works for our society.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is
Right.
that a
And
prediction?
I go with that. I generally don't want to contest on that part. But anything you want to say about how do you see the compliance ecosystem changing in future in this? Because as a part of cryptocurrency security standards, I think a lot of things can actually happen in the way the compliance system operates, right? See, it is one thing that we as businesses can do. There's one thing we as consumers can do, but significantly, a lot of things can be done, made a lot safer for both businesses and ourselves as individual consumers if compliance and government system comes into play with a better understanding. So, what's your take on the future of that aspect?
I think it's unavoidable. I think that there is going to be compliance, there's going to be regulation around it. We've already seen it go that way. And I do think that it's been problematic probably forever that new technologies come in and there isn't yet rules around how to use it. You addressed that earlier in terms of using cryptocurrency, and it's not legal or illegal. It's just, it exists. And eventually, I think governments want to get their piece of the pie. If you're not taxing something that is
In India, it's already, like I said, as an instrument of investment, it
in
is
the
taxed.
Yeah, in the United States as well, I get paid in cryptocurrency. And it's funny, I've had many people say, oh, you've been paid in Bitcoin, so you must have, you must be a millionaire. And I'll think, well, no, because I have to actually then pay my bills and I need to exchange it because the electric company won't accept Bitcoin. So it's not that I'm holding a lot. I exchange it to fiat and then use that to pay my bills. And
so when do you pay the taxes? When you do the exchange?
so, well, it depends on when you sell it and the type of currency. If you're using something like USDC so that it's dollar to dollar, it doesn't matter when you end up selling it, and you pay based on what you've earned. This is not tax advice in any way. I'm not a tax expert.
Correct. Yeah, just
But it depends on when you sell it as well. Do you sell it right away? Did you keep it? And with Bitcoin, Ether, the prices are volatile. So you could get paid, one Bitcoin one day, and then it's worth 0.001, a few months later, whatever that is. But so one of the tricky pieces is keeping track of what you've been paid in what currency and when you sold or exchanged it, because you can be charged capital gains if it goes up, and then you have to keep track of what that is if you've sold it in under a year, which if you're like me and you're living off of cryptocurrency that you're being paid in, you have to be able to do that and regularly keep track of it. There's a lot of software out there now that is making it easier. So that is definitely a big thing. But I think as more people get paid in cryptocurrency, that there'll become more software that will make it easier. But, I've got people that I work with in Singapore, in Mexico. I've worked with people in Berlin. They're getting paid in crypto, and because of it, their money arrives instantly. It's not this long process. There isn't this intermediary involved, and they prefer it. The colleague that I have who lives in Mexico really prefers Bitcoin because he holds on to it, and it's safer for him to accept Bitcoin than it is for him to accept the currency that's going to go rather than like this.
It's far more volatile than Bitcoin.
Yeah, for sure. I have a lot of people ask me to predict the price of Bitcoin, and
you want to go at it?
I don't think that it's possible to predict it. Do I think it's
okay? Maybe let me rephrase that. When do you think it will cross 100K?
I hope
USD,
for yesterday. I hope it happened yesterday, and I'll be able to check, and everything's going to be gravy. But I don't know. I hope that it just continues to increase, and I think that it will. What I hope more than the price increasing is that we're able to start using the cryptocurrency in more places. Going to a restaurant and being able to use it rather than having to convert it and then track. I mean, there's just so many steps to follow, and it's much easier if we can just use it. There's a sushi restaurant that was accepting Bitcoin, and a friend and I were really excited to go back so we could pay for our sushi in Bitcoin. And when we went back, they no longer accepted Bitcoin. And I was so disappointed, because to be able to use it places, it just feels so much better. It's already what I use. If I'm paying somebody back, I'll send them Bitcoin or ETH or whatever. And so already using it, but I'm excited for when we can really use it all the time. And I think that is coming. I do. There's technology that is in these new applications that make it so that people can more easily accept it. So I do predict that it's going to become, I'm not sure if it'll be Bitcoin or if it'll be some other type of, government-backed digital currency, whatever it is. I do think that it is coming, and I predict that we'll be able to use cryptocurrency in our daily lives within, I hope, 10 years.
Well, just a curious question. If you don't want to answer, it's okay. But you're getting into elections, right? We just had our elections in India. So do you think any change of guard in US will have an impact on the policies towards cryptocurrency? If there is a change of guard, do you see a change of policy towards crypto?
I think anything's possible. I'm constantly surprised by things politicians say and do. Constantly surprised, even though it's pretty naive, you don't want them to go the opposite way, but what people say they're going to do is often very different than what they end up doing. And I also think that the American people from the United States and any country where you're able to be involved in the governmental process have a big say in that. It doesn't just happen at the presidential level. It really builds up from your local government and being involved in that and telling your congressmen, senators, what it is that you want and voting for people who you hope are going to do the things. I think it's more than just what the president is saying or doing. There is a hierarchy and you have to start from the bottom in some ways. But I hope either way it goes that everyone's like, yeah, Bitcoin, crypto, let's hope for that it's either way that it's going to be positive, but I don't think that's necessarily going to happen.
Right. Well, yeah, more or less on a similar note, we, at least post-elections, whether change of God happens or not, there was some expectation on change of policies, but the same person became the Minister for Finance for this term also. So now, not many people are very uh, positive about any change that we all desperately are looking at in this space. But yeah, sometimes uh, things change, but not necessarily the way you want it.
Right. Yeah. So I guess
Right.
we'll see how it goes.
Right. Yep. So, as a closing remark, Jessica, what would you like to leave? What thought do you want to leave about the future? I mean, obviously, I think you already made. You obviously are an optimist on crypto and Web3 and blockchain technologies. So, uh, anything you want to double down on that, or do you want to leave any other thought behind?
I'd say that when you think about a new technology, when anyone thinks about a new technology and things building on, it's really easy to look at it as being big and scary, something I'm not going to understand. I've had conversations with people where they're like, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get Bitcoin or I don't get crypto. They kind of cut it off there. I think part of that is a fear of coming across stupid or just believing whatever you've seen in the news. So I would say that if you are interested in cryptocurrency or blockchain technology, but you haven't really dabbled in it yet because you have these assumptions made, or you think that it's outside of maybe your understanding because it's not something you have learned about before, anyone can learn and understand this. It sometimes feels really daunting because there's all of these terms and lingo that you have to start to learn. But if you go to the resources that walk you through it, really anybody can learn. And I think that we should work together to talk about it in a way that we can understand, using analogies, using examples of what already exists, and making sure that we tie it into what people enjoy. And that's both for whatever you're doing on your end, but then also the education side of it. So I love Lego. I'm all about building Lego. I like to make my own designs. I'm a big fan. And one of the things that we did in one of our courses was talk about how if you have a Lego structure that you have built, you want it to be secure. You know if it's secure or not because you have built it. But then, like with cryptocurrency, you might be taking somebody else's Lego structure, connecting it to yours, taking something else, and you're building a new system, but you might not either fully understand how Lego is put together, or you might not understand how other people have put theirs together. So it's really about understanding the technology rather than just trusting that it's going to work out. And I think it's easier to just either trust or distrust rather than to take the time to learn and understand how these things come together and can be beneficial. So if you're thinking about learning more, don't let the terminology scare you. Take the time to learn slowly from credible, unbiased resources and jump in because it's super fun.
Excellent. And wonderful. And the links are there right below this podcast for all the listeners and audience. And also link to Jessica is there. Her social handles are there. You can follow her on LinkedIn and other social handles to follow what kind of work she's doing. And you can reach out. You can reach out to people and do share this conversation with everybody you think will benefit out of. And do share your feedback as well. And if you have questions, please do ask, and we will request Jessica to come on to our platform wherever you're consuming it to respond to your questions as well. With that, thank you and enjoy the ride till we come back with another exciting guest. Jessica, once again, thank you so much for making time and sharing and also doing what you're doing, which is so very important. I think, particularly the kind of work C4 does is what's going to bring more skeptics into Web3 because security is what gives them confidence. So that is so very important. That is the way we will have more people coming in and getting the value out of Web3 ecosystem, and security is paramount. That is what you're doing, and which is wonderful. Keep up that work, and we're also, as from Ninja, very happy to be collaborating with you and work with you on that. So keep up the good work, and all the very best, and we'll keep bringing the conversation in.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful. I appreciate your time and to be able to talk with people, you, who also wants to talk about the future.
Thank you. Wonderful.